It is 5:30. If we could call the April 22nd Amherst Board of Education meeting to order by standing for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Zappa.
Here.
Mrs. Gillis.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Present.
Dr. Messer.
Present.
Mrs. Wackel.
Recommendation to adopt the agenda as presented, including all addendums. Second. With a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel. Mr. Zappa.
Aye. Good news report, Mr. Tellier.
Thank you, Board of Education, Mr. Molnar. Good to see everybody here. Three things that I'm going to talk about today. The theme is on the docket is awesomeness. I have 4 students I want to talk about. Of course, all of our students are awesome here at Steele, but 4 in particular. Also, May is a very active month in any high school, in any school, but especially at our high school here at Steele. So kind of talk about all the awesome things. There's 8 different things I want to make sure you guys are aware of. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Edwards, and I will let an awesome teacher talk about a new program we have for next year. So, Aaron Clappus, Ezekiel DiMercurio, Mark Vitelli, who is with us with his mom and dad, and Dane Janis. Now, there's only one of the 4 of these individuals here because they're so well-rounded. They're at track right now. They're in tennis right now. They're at other places. But we were approached by a few schools earlier this year, and it was to join the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And what that is obviously blood cancers. There's 1.3 million U.S. Individuals fighting some type of blood cancer. So they call it the Student Visionary of the Year. And what it is you grab a few leaders. So I sought out these 4 individuals, and they all accepted the challenge. And what they did was, if you look up there, they would go to wrestling matches and do 50-50 raffles. They would do dine to donates. We had a bunch of staff members going to take a pie in the face, and they raised money for that. And a lot of them just networked. They looked in their parents and their families' Rolodex, and they looked at, who had been, just about all of us have been touched by cancer in some way, unfortunately. But it really, they just kind of looked at how could we raise money. And I thought, okay, first year, maybe we'll get $1,500, $2,000. They made over $10,000 in their first year. And really what's so impressive about that is, so these 4 individuals then get underclassmen. So you're kind of building it, as you're going. So you don't want all seniors to do it. So these 4 were the captains, and then they brought on juniors and sophomores and freshmen to kind of carry the torch for next year. And already for next year, I think in May, we're meeting with the director of LLS, and we have a new team that's already signing up for that 7-week challenge next year. So they get 7 weeks to kind of get as much money as they can. And Mark did a great job along with his other 3 partners. And like I said, as a principal, it's the first year we did it. We're going to continue doing it, and I just couldn't be more proud of them. So we want to give Mark. And then an awesome month coming up, and I just kind of put on there 8 specific things. Of course, there's concerts, senior nights, things like that going on. If I mentioned everything we were doing, we'd be here all night. We wouldn't be able to do it. So these are the 8 things you really want to make note of. Starting next Friday, our Armed Forces ceremony will be at 1:30. It normally starts at 1:45. We moved it back 15 minutes because we have 17 students enlisting, and we have 4 military academy appointments. We have 3 going to the Naval Academy and 1 going to West Point. So my first year here in 2019, we had 3 military academy appointments, and I thought that was unheard of. And to say we have 4 going on and 17 total speaks volumes about our students, speaks volumes about what we offer here. Going to Mike Edwards, he's going to talk about a military class. I'm sure that number is only going to grow. Comments to College is Tuesday, May 7th. Casey does a great job. That honors, we bring the parents in and family members. That is any student, Division I, Division II, Division III, that's going on to the next level to play athletically. They do a signing, we have them on stage, and we honor them that way. Senior Awards Banquet, that is also May 7th. It's at 6 o'clock. It's in German's Villa. An awesome night. Not only is there a lot of scholarship, and we reward academic achievement, but we also have those students that are going to be at the Armed Forces ceremony. We honor them also there that night. So it's awards banquet, but also military achievement too. Our career fair, this is something, talking about awesome people. Kathleen Santos, our senior college and career counselor, works with Kristen Kowalczyk. And our career fair, we bring in close to 40 different companies. Nordson is there. We bring in car dealerships. We bring in hospitals all around. And they come in. We're going to set it up in the gym. Every junior and senior comes down, and they kind of walk through the tables. Dave O'Delly, Dave has helped us this year. He is partnering and actually working with our students how to look at resumes, how to interview, kind of like a speed dating thing just to get our students ready. So when they do go before these employers, they're kind of prepared for that as well. So that's an exciting thing coming up. We have prom Saturday at May 11th, and that'll be at Kalahari. We've been at Westlake for the most part, but they could not, over at Crockett Park, they couldn't guarantee us a spot. So if you've ever been to Kalahari, their conference center is second to none. We're really excited about that. Our underclassmen awards is Wednesday, May 22nd. And again, we bring our families in for that. 8 o'clock is freshmen, 9 o'clock is sophomores, and 10 o'clock are our juniors. Our senior clap out and parade, this is a awesome tradition. After practice, and we really think before it would take a long time because we'd alternate, and we had some in gold and some in green. But this year, it was student driven that we're going to have all students in green with gold. So we think we're going to be able to move through. A lot of times by the time we did these clap outs, we'd be in the middle of their Powers and Nords lunch periods. So we think we're going to be able to get in there quicker. But after practice, what we do is we walk through our school, pomp and circumstances playing, the students have on their robes, and it's awesome for the teachers here. And then they walk on down to Nord, down on the tennis courts. And again, Principal Harrigan walks them through. And it's really kind of awesome. It's those moments you don't think of that you see the little brothers or sisters, or that's my neighbor, or that's my cousin, whatever it might be. And they walk around through Nord and get to see their 4th and 5th grade teachers. And then, thank you, Amherst Police Department. We then come back to our cars. We get an escort over to Powers and AGH in the board office. And they do a nice job. They stop traffic at 5 corners and everything, and they get us over there. And again, we walk through those buildings. And, my wife's a 2nd grade teacher, and I'm talking about our students, Mark and some of the others. She's like, oh, I had them in 2nd grade, and I remember when they lost their tooth and all these things. And it's just kind of cool for, we get them up here and they all grow up and they're moving on, but it's neat for our teachers and our staff to be able to see them, and it's also cool for them to see, it's my kindergarten teacher, things like that. And that really kind of leads up to our parade. It's something we started with, again, Amherst Police help us, but we started that with COVID, where we couldn't do a lot of things. So all of our students, and probably 2/3 line up at Powers Elementary. And we have the parade route, the same thing, and we'll put that out there. We come in the Five Corners, go down Nord, circle up Sunrise, and we kind of finish down here at Steele. And that's just an awesome time for parents to drive their graduate, and they get to wave, and I mean, that's just hero stuff. So that's just an awesome, awesome event leading up to the culmination of county kindergarten, 13 years of everything. We're back at the 10 a.m. Cleveland State Wolstein Center, Saturday, May 25th for commencement. So that's all that leads up to that very special day there. So great things there. And I've been talking enough, so I'm going to turn this over really quick to Mike Edwards. And I will just say, and I say this a lot, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you can have programs, but if you don't have the right teacher in front of our students, a lot of times it's all for nothing. And I don't think you're going to find a more passionate teacher when it comes to history and military. He already has some electives, but Mike Edwards is the perfect individual to take us into this program, and I'll stop talking and turn it over.
All right, thank you, Joe. I might have to pay you $20 for those words. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. This genesis of this happened a couple of years ago. We have a military history elective here. The students took it, and as we're looking at how we were prepping our kids for life after high school, we saw, well, we have a college track, and we had JVS at that time. We were just scratching the surface on our makerspace projects, but we really didn't have necessarily per se a pathway for military youth or kids that were interested in it. And so it was about a year and a half ago, Mr. Tellier and I met and discussed the possibility of adding a second course and calling it military science. For those students who may have an interest in pursuing this, we can get them with the right people. They can learn from an unbiased source, not that everyone's biased, but and get the facts laid out for them. We went through this year with that in mind, and I believe it was the first or second day of the school year, Mr. Tellier came to me with a paper, or actually I walked in and he said, "Oh, great, you're here." And that's usually not a good sign, but I said, "Yes, I am," and he went over this application for the Navy National Defense Cadet Corps. In essence, what it is it is a Navy JROTC unit. The difference in the two programs is strictly funding. With this Navy National Defense Cadet Program, my next quote was, "Well, I'm not retired military, I can't teach this." We met through numerous Zoom sessions, and it comes out, I can. So we proceeded with it. Mr. Tellier gave me, the option. He says, we can continue with what we've already established, or we can go this route. I went and shadowed at Highland High School in Sparta, Ohio, who has a program in place. And I couldn't wait to get back here and say, this is what we want to do. I was blown away with the students and the things that this program brought that are outside of the military. They were good people. They were good citizens. They had soft skills. They looked you in the eye. They were polite. They were things that are necessary to help our students with. So when I came back, I obviously promoted the heck out of this. Said, absolutely, this is what we want to do. We went forward, had several meetings with Mr. Molnar, Mrs. Hall, I thought I saw her. There she is, yep. Mr. Frito, we got it all kind of hammered out now, we think, and we're ready to go. A little about the program. The Navy, the Department of Defense, will provide the curriculum. It is a curriculum going through it which emphasizes citizenship above all. It's looking at self-reliance, personal discipline, and service to your communities. As part of it, there are benefits for students should they choose to enlist or pursue a career in the military. The benefits, they get ASVAB, ACT, and SAT test prep built right into the curriculum. There is the PE waiver similar to a varsity sport, and I can get into why that here in a minute. I can almost guarantee you that they will receive their student engagement, their community service, and their enlistment seals if they complete 4 years of this program, and they do not even have to enlist. So the state says if you complete 4 years, you get your enlistment seal. So there's the possibility of all those graduation seals. Cadets that do 3 years of the program are eligible for an advancement to E3 in the Navy just by signing their name and participating in this program. So we're already helping them to a career if that's the path they choose. If cadets do 2 years of this program, they get a pay grade bump to E2 if they so choose to enlist. As the naval science instructor, I can make recommendations for cadets for the NROTC scholarship, as well as recommendations to the United States Naval Academy. Those aren't appointments, they're strictly recommendations, but kind of moves your application up a little. Some benefits that the kids also will have is once a year they're supposed to go on an orientation trip. Now these trips are centered around military installations. One of the trips is a Washington, D.C. visit to the nation's capital in conjunction with a visit to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Another trip could be to Norfolk Naval Yard, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island. All of these are arranged through the Department of Defense, and kids get an idea of what being on a military installation is like. So those are all part of the program and benefits the kids can have. On top of that, the things that are the most exciting to me are all of the teams that they're able to participate in. We will have a drill team. In fact, in March, I believe, everything's a blur lately, March, 20 of our students showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning to drive to Columbus with me on a bus, and they watched a drill competition for 6 hours. And they came back, and that's all they could talk about. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? I said, you can do whatever you want, as long as you are committed to it. Color guard. We will have a color guard here to present the colors, and it'll be our students and our cadets doing that. Opportunities that tap right into our makerspace and our STEM programs that are here. There's a program, Cyber Patriot. We can teach the kids cybersecurity. They compete online against other schools, against threats, cyber threats. There is a drone team, and I will skip down to a sea perch team. Both require programming drones, going through obstacle courses, picking up items. The drone team is a flying drone. The sea perch team is a submersible, but same basic concept. There's an academic team, and there's an orienteering team, which they're the most excited about. In essence, take them out in the middle of nowhere, drop them off, and it's a scavenger hunt. And the first one back wins. What the program looks like, it's built as a 4-year program, as I said. The first year is really getting your feet wet, learning customs and courtesies, history. The second year is heavy in military history. And then your third and fourth years, they begin to become the leaders. They put their leadership principles into action. They are now the cadet officers, and they are running the drill. They are conducting color guard. So it gets them a chance to see what they learned their first 2 years and apply it their last 2. Fourth year, obviously, heavy leadership. What our cadet week will look like. 3 days of strictly classroom, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, following the curriculum that the JRCSA provides. Every Wednesday will be uniform day and inspection. Our students will wear a uniform to school. It is a requirement. If they take it off other than ceramics or something that would damage it, they get a 0 for the day. So it'll be nice to see them in the halls in their uniforms. And then Friday is PT day. So in conjunction with the drill and every Friday being a PT day, that's how they're able to earn their PE waivers. So, and there's about a million other things, but I know there's a big meeting tonight, so I'd be more than happy to answer any questions any of you may have in regards to the program. I will say that we have some good news. I have training in Chicago in June, and at that time, a unit is shutting down in Illinois, and they've told me that I can bring everything that's there back to here so we don't have a cost for these uniforms, these other things that are coming up. In addition to that, I already have pledges that are starting to come in from community organizations and veterans groups in support of this program to help offset these costs for the students so that, fingers crossed, we're all good to go beginning of the school year and everyone's in uniform. I would just like to say thank you to everybody, Mr. Molnar, Mrs. Hall, Mr. Giaffredo, everybody that Mr. Grimmett, who's not here, has bent over backwards to make this happen in terms of getting storage rooms ready, getting things where they are, Mr. Cogdell getting the technology set up. I can't thank you all enough. And it's going to be great for our kids, and looking forward to it.
The uniforms, are they specific to this or the different branches?
They will be Navy service uniforms, so I know it's small. I tried to cram everything on one slide for everybody. But they are this uniform right here, which is the second, which would be the Navy pants, khaki shirt, and garrison cap. The dress blue uniforms are the officer uniforms. Those will probably be down the road unless I get a big stack of them when I go to Chicago. I'm hoping my truck is like overloaded in the back of the turnpike. But yes, and so those would be the uniforms that the cadets would be wearing. So, and what's nice about this, while it is a Navy-sponsored program, the options are still available across all branches for the pay grade advancements upon enlistment. Yes, ma'am.
So for the first, I guess, couple of years, so you were talking about the seniors when they get up,
Yes.
they'll be running drills and stuff. So
Yes.
I guess how will you get help with that before you feel they can do that?
You're looking at everything right now. Well, I'm happy to say, when we sent this out, I was a little concerned. I'm like, well, we're going to have 12 kids. How many students are going to want to do this? In grades 8 through 10 is really where we kind of pushed it because we thought those would be the benefits and we'd get things out of it. We had over 43 students apply. A couple had to drop because of scheduling purposes, but we're sitting at 42 cadets right now. It is broken down almost dead center by gender, by grade level. And so what we're going to attempt to do is the kids that are here now are going to get a crash course by me to kind of assume that leadership role. And then we are going to keep next year's freshmen together in a cohort, and they're just going to kind of go through. And then by the time this matures, when they're seniors, then it'll fill in. So yes, so we have 2 separate classes running next year.
Any other questions?
Thank you, that sounds great.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Kelly. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the board to you, Mark, and your cohorts over there for the job that you did or have done. Good job, and we're proud of you. Okay, moving on to the public hearing and federal grant program. Mike, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, every year we receive federal monies from various federal grants that are listed here, and one of the requirements is we always have an opportunity for the public to ask questions or inquire about any of the federal grants. So this was that time for anyone who is interested about federal grants to step forward. Usually got no one, so unless someone's really passionate about that, we can move on to our regular hearing in public.
Hearing of the public, we have one, Mr. Tully. Would you stand up and state your name and address, please?
Yeah, so my name is Adam Tully. Address is 631 Bayberry Road, Lorraine, Ohio, 44053. Is it good to begin?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, board members. I appreciate you allowing me the time to speak tonight. As a resident and parent within our community, I'm here to discuss the current early admittance policy for kindergartners within our district, focusing on its implication and suggesting necessary updates and changes. Our son, Colton Tully, is on the cusp of starting his educational journey. He's turning 5 years old shortly after the district's current cutoff date of August 1st. Despite testing and demonstrating readiness for kindergarten by scoring an average on a test at a higher grade level than kindergarten, he faces delay in starting school due to his birth date falling 16 days after the cutoff. So kindergarten is currently scheduled to start on August 28th. He is scheduled to be 5 years old on August 17th. I understand the need for a cutoff date. However, aligning it closer to the actual start-off date with school on September 1st, as other districts in our community have adopted, would better serve our children's readiness and continuous development assessment. Since this policy was last revised in 2018, pre-COVID-19, it has not been revisited to reflect the substantial shifts in early childhood development impacts by the pandemic, like children like Colton, who has spent crucial years in environments tailored to prepare them for school, such as the the specialized child care center in which he attends, which should be considered in the evaluating of the readiness. More so, the design of the current testing seems more of a procedural hurdle than a genuine assessment of the child's capability to start kindergarten. The financial strain, an additional year of childcare, which for many amounts to significant expenses without educational advancements, further stresses families already grappling with economical challenges. It is also noteworthy that if a family opts to provide private kindergarten, they can enroll their child into first grade the following year without scrutiny, suggesting an inconsistency in the policy's application. In light of these points, I urge the board to consider reevaluating and updating the cutoff date to September 1st, reviewing the assessment process to ensure it aligns more closely with the actual kindergarten curriculum, recognizing the unique developmental challenges posed by the recent historical events, such as the pandemic. These steps will not only align our district with a more equitable, realistic, and supportive educational framework, but also alleviate undue financial pressures on families within our community. Thank you for considering these critical adjustments and that I believe will be beneficial not just to Fulton, but other children within our district poised to begin their educational path here within Amherst. Thank you again for your time and dedication to our children's future.
Thank you, Mr. Tully.
Thank you.
I don't know if you would want to
Yeah,
address that
I've been in
later.
communication with
Yeah.
Mr. Tully, and
Oh.
there's the next step in the process which we're taking care of. And I also mentioned, Mr. Tully, that we just happen to have a policy meeting this Thursday where the professionals we work with are bringing policy, and I'm going to reach out to them to ask them and just see if there has been any updates in the early interest in kindergarten policy for the district. So just a good time to put it up, and we're going to take a look at that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Treasurer report?
Yes. So a little bit of good news for the district. Amherst Exempted Village School, along with a couple of other Lorraine County districts, has received Odd-Year State Award for fiscal year 23, which ended June 30th, 2023. As you are aware, the Auditor of State's Office released our audit, I believe it was March 25th. And then this is an announcement, all of the districts and public governmental entities in the state that received Clean Audit Awards. So I don't take credit for this myself. The whole district plays part in receiving the Clean Audit Award. The policies that the board has established, the procedures that I put in place for our office and our district to abide by, obviously have been followed. We had no hiccups with our audit, and that is a wonderful thing. Go ahead. But we've also not only received the Clean Audit Award, both for fiscal 23, 22, and 21, but we also have achieved 4 on the STARS rating. If you want to go to the next slide, it gives some example of what it is. Sorry, it's really little, but the STARS system is a rating system developed by the Auditor of State's Office. It's transparency in government, and with our records policy, our clean audits, and all the other things that we do well in this district contribute to transparent reporting in government. Next slide. Just want to do a shout out to Doug Cogdell, Matt Smith, and Jim Hudson from Cloverleaf Local School District. We submitted a track session last fall, and we were able to present last week at annual conference covering your assets, internal controls, banking controls, and cybersecurity. We had a great time. It was actually more content for the length than the length of the track session allowed. Nobody got up and left. We had about 65 people there at the end of the day. It was stacked up against 7 other track sessions. And Matt and Doug did a fabulous job on the cybersecurity and the different safety and security, both physical and cyber, that we're working on in our district. But then we also did a shout out to our makerspace. And I had personally purchased some stemless wine glasses that Doug and Matt engraved in the makerspace. And you guys saw the little logo that Matt Smith and his family worked on don't forget to cover your assets. So, and then along with Dawn, you've all met Dawn, my colleague and friend, we presented the first timers, newbies breakfast and orientation, and then Thursday afternoon, we did a Barbie presentation, all based upon the monologue, Gloria's monologue in the Barbie movie. And it was heavily attended. There were 86 attendees. There were tears in the audience. There were a lot of thank yous. It was right after lunch on Expo Day. So I just feel like 86 attendees. It was just a really neat thing to do. And it's always good to be able to learn from colleagues and to be able to present to colleagues. It's an honor, really. Next slide. Now we'll get into the business stuff. So you guys always see the schedule of revenue and expenditures. The middle three columns recall our month to date for fiscal 24, 23, and 22. And then on the rightmost columns are the fiscal year to date. You'll see that for the month of March, we received more in unrestricted and restricted aid. That is due to the Fair School Funding Plan. With updated inputs, we are receiving more than $1 million more this year than we did last fiscal year. And then you'll see on the rightmost columns, all of the middle categories, tangible real estate, unrestricted, restricted, property tax allocation, and other revenue are all coming in greater than they were last year. From an expenditure standpoint, for the month of March, we spent less in supplies and materials, capital outlay, and other. And for year-to-date, the only category we spent less than fiscal 23 is the other expenditures. Other it can be anything from banking fees to miscellaneous expenditures. And then if you look at the bottom, it says the overall expenditures this year are greater than last year, and the cash balance is decreasing quite some. Let's go to the next slide. So shall I move on to the recommendations, Mr. Zeppo?
Yes.
Okay. So we ask that the minutes from the March 18th regular meeting be approved. If you've all had an opportunity to look at the March financials, that's a cash reconciliation, financial summary by fund and special cost center, the forecast report for general fund and the emergency levy fund, and then the monthly checklisting. Item C is the resolution to accept the tax rates and amounts as presented by the Budget Commission. Does anybody have any questions about that? It'll be the second time that some of you, third time I think, that Mrs. Wackles and Dr. Messer have seen it. This is the next piece in the tax budget process. Tax budget was due in January. Now this is essentially what our guarantee is, what the effective tax rates will be, and what our collection should be by fund for the next fiscal year starting 7/1 of 24. The appropriations changes are on Exhibit 9F. We have the three bond retirement funds that need an increased appropriation, really due to the auditor and treasurer fees that we have to pay for them collecting the levies for us. Powers Principals Fund has a small increase of $1,000 appropriation. Rec Fund has a $4,000 increase for dirt and mix. The Prom Fund has a small appropriation for their student activity fund of $1,900. The Ohio K-12 connectivity grant, the 451 fund, that is a fund that we receive every year from the state of Ohio. We don't have to ask for it, we just automatically receive it. For the last 10 years, I believe we've been receiving $7,200. This year, we received $7,805 and change. And those just offset tech fees, connectivity fees that we have with our A-Site Connect. The ARC ESSER Fund 5079223, the advance is simply to eventually repay the advances that the general fund has been advancing to the ARP ESSER Fund. And 584 is a correction actually from last month. Next page. There's a then and now invoice for Ohio School Boards Association that needs to be approved in advance, and a transfer need to be approved by the board. The 2024-25 LERC medical prescription, dental, and vision rates need to be approved. And then I ask that the board acknowledge donations.
There's a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Call the roll, please, or vote, please.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel. Mr. Zappa.
Aye. Mr. Mulder?
First, I'd like to thank first Mr. Tellier and Mr. Edwards for coming tonight and sharing such wonderful news about steel. What's happening with Mr. Edwards and this program is just an example of what happens all over the district every day with all of our teachers from kindergarten to 12th grade, our coaches. I mean, they just do a phenomenal job. I'm so proud. We continue to push the envelope in everything that we do. So, and thank you to the board for supporting us in all those things. We wouldn't happen without the board's backing, so we appreciate that as well. So the first thing I'd like to share real quick are just the capital improvement projects that are happening this summer. We usually try to share that with the board and the community, what's happening over the summer. So real quick, I tried to color code this a little bit, but in the maintenance area, we're going to be working on the steel gym floor, also the Powers gym floor and the AJH gym floor. The reason I have different colors is because there are different funds we use for some of the projects. One fund is the Permanent Improvement Fund, which a lot of things happen over the summer during the school year. But also there's another fund, a 034 fund. That fund was set up when we completed Powers Elementary School. When that occurred, there was a certain amount of, I think $500,000, correct, Amy?
Yes.
$500,000 that's set aside for not only Powers but also AJH. When we completed Powers Elementary School, it was like a second phase in the junior high project, really, when it comes to OFCC, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. And so when we did Powers, we have $500,000 we have to set aside for that campus. So we can use those funds that are set aside for that for permanent improvements, but it comes out of a different fund. And it can only be used for Powers and AJH. So that's why we're using that fund for Powers and AJH gym floor. We have already actually completed the AJH soccer complex sidewalk. After we created last year the pad for basketball and an area for students to be at the soccer complex, there was a desire at the time to continue the cement work all the way to the stands because for how long we have not had a walkway or any kind of sidewalk to get to the stand. So it was an issue for a lot of our elderly, our senior citizens, and also anyone who maybe is in a wheelchair. And so we didn't finish it last year, but we just finished it just now. So we, again, cleaned out with PI funds. It's on the schedule to do the AJH water heater replacement. One of our water heaters went down. We have multiples for backup, so it just needs to be replaced. AJH is in good shape, but 20 years old, it's going to be some issues here once in a while, so that's something we need to replace. And then also, we're using the 304 fund to resurface Powers and AJH parking lot. Again, we can use those funds from that $500,000 because it is the campus for permanent improvements that are there for more than 5 years. So we're using the funds from that to do that. On the technology side, a few projects. The biggest project is our network Wi-Fi upgrade. So you can see it's a pretty large amount. I mean, that was done previously, 10, 12 years ago with Mr. Coaster when he was our technology supervisor. So you're talking about 10 or 12 years needing to upgrade the Wi-Fi network in the district. Now, all of these technology improvements are E-rate eligible, which means any money that we spend, and they've all been approved by the state, any money that is spent, we will be reimbursed half of it back. Okay? So even though we're spending $450,000, we will be reimbursed back $225,000 to be used for future projects. So that's awesome news. So even though we're spending money, we're getting some of the money back. There's a firewall upgrade that needs to be done. We have a UPS backup power generator system that's going to take place here at Steel. That's been a project on the list for how many years, Amy? It's been on the list for 7 years. We always have been put it off because it's just more money to spend. But really, our whole entire network and everything's at risk if there's a power outage, which, as we know, Amherst is famous for power outages. And so we've never had an issue, but we have lost various servers or switches because of those in the past. It's just about time that we protect our investment, especially with the new $450,000 upgrade. So it's time to do that as well. And then finally, we're doing some fiber cabling to upgrade some speed things that AGH ignored. And one thing I want to say about these last three, the firewall, UPS, and fiber cabling, those are all being paid for out of previous E-rate money that we've reimbursed back. So we have about 110,000 that we received this year, and maybe a little bit more, Amy? Maybe 14 more. So about 125,000 in prior spending that we're getting reimbursed back this year. That 125 will take care of those three projects. So it's something that actually Doug Cudell and Amy set up last year, really 2 years ago.
A couple of years ago, we set up a distinct fund to capture the E-rate reimbursements. It's an 019 fund. You'll see that on the financial summary. So there's currently just about $110,000 there. We'll fund those bottom projects. Then what's interesting is when in 12 or 18 months, when we receive reimbursement for the network and Wi-Fi upgrade, about $225,000 is going to go into that 019 fund and fund a couple $100,000 worth of. So it's kind of, we don't see that money going into the general fund and spending out of the general fund. It's kind of a neat way to capture it in another fund that's a certain use, restricted use fund.
Then real quick, another reason we're, thank you. I mean, another reason we're taking care of some of these really infrastructure upgrades this year is because next year and the following years, there's going to be some staff laptop refreshing, Chromebook refreshing, and so we've all mapped it out so it's not $1 million 1 year, 200,000 next year. Kind of is all progressively kind of consistent, but that E-rate refunding and putting it back in technology is going to help us moving on. So those are some capital improvements happening this summer and already happened. So thank you. Next thing real quick, I want to give an update on the next step in our transportation center and athletic upgrade process. The next thing that's going to happen is we are about to review and hire a construction manager at risk. And so we put out requests for proposals and qualifications from construction managers in different firms. We received all those back. They were all due on April 18th. From what we collected, 3 firms have been selected that we've requested them to submit actual proposals. So they're going to submit proposals to us where they will discuss how they will be able to manage our projects and kind of be our daily, people on the ground daily to watch and to make sure that everything's on track and we're not overspending and having a lot of changes. Those 3 firms are C.T. Taylor Construction, Dunlop and Johnson Incorporated, and Panzingle Construction. And so the next few weeks, the timeline is going to be requests for proposals and a pre-proposal meeting. That would be like a Zoom meeting with each of those 3, just to kind of, if they have any questions, to give information back and forth. And then we will have interviews with all 3, hopefully by May 10th, so that we have a selection of a construction manager at risk by the May 20th board meeting. Following that, that's when they'll start getting involved with our architects, looking over the designs. We'll do that together with our team, our facilities team, transportation team, athletic team, and then they will help work on actual costs finally, more determine what these are actually going to be. We've had things go up and down over the last couple of months, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's going to be based on schematic design. The schematic design work from GP Architects should also be done by the end of the month. So we're looking at CMR and schematic design and the next step in the process all coming together at the end of May. So that's really the next step of where we're going to start really, the community starts seeing some movement in designs and plans, and it's been a lot of work over the last couple of months, but we're getting there. Any questions real quick on next steps in the process?
Have we brought the public that worked on this project together to share this information with them at a meeting?
So we have a facility advisory committee meeting scheduled for April 30th. So they've all been invited to attend, having it right here at Steele. And so they've been invited. We're going to have a facility advisory committee, keep an update on everything that's been happening so far and where we're headed next. And then we will continue the facility advisory committee going over through the summer and into next school year. That's going to be part of our strategic plan as well.
And has the facilities committee meeting, people on the facilities meeting committee, seen these proposals and these requests?
No, that's not really, I think, part of the facility advisory committee. It's more for
Not
The
the,
district
not the
board.
advisory committee, the board, not the board, but your superintendent committee of the facilities group, including board members.
So I actually brought the packets tonight. We received those packets on April 18th, so that was on Thursday, a few days ago, right? So 3 days ago we received them, and so I brought a copy tonight to kind of pass on. You're not going to look at it all, read it all tonight. But we'll get you an additional copy for those on the committee, and then you'll be a part of that next process of the interview process. So I mentioned that to Mr. Zappa, having 2 board members on that interview process, again, most likely being the facility committee, but again, if the board wants to talk amongst themselves and send 2 our way, that's fine too.
Are you done with that?
Sure.
You have something else you're gonna share with us?
Not with this one, right? This,
Can I go back to the last slide?
sure, absolutely.
Could you give me a little bit better description of what the AJH parking lot is? Because I recall last year we did a lot of work in the AJH parking lot. So what are we going to do this year with the AJH parking lot?
So the AH product's like just a resurfacing, like a blacktop resurfacing of
And
the.
we did that last year?
No, we did 2 years ago. I think on Mr. Gribbett's schedule, it's every other year he has.
I thought it was done last year.
And I'll check with Mr. Gribbett. It may have been on last year, maybe it was put on hold for this year, but I'll check with Mr.
I
Gribbett.
think one of them was put on hold, I don't know which one was. We did put it on hold.
Might have been power. she put on hold.
I don't know which one,
But I think the AGH was done last year.
I've reviewed these with Mr. Gribbett today, but I'll go back and double check and see that. Get it.
I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think it was,
Okay.
just because I recall watching that. It happened in Egypt. The other thing is, did we address any of the concrete sidewalks at AJH that are tripping hazards?
Not yet.
is that part of it?
Is that part of this project? or
No,
anything there?
that's not a part of this project, but I can bring that up to Mr. Gribbett if you'd like.
There's some bad, and it's from snow. I mean, it's, this year it's not bad. It's from plowing of the sidewalks that are really missing some decent large areas in some of those sidewalks. So I think that we should take a look at that.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Or not at this moment.
All right.
Moving on. Ms. Walker?
Well, before you do, Ms. Walker, I want to take a little of my time.
Not yet, I know
Not
you're
yet, I know,
anxiously
I know.
waiting.
I know you're anxious to get rid of me and go to her. But I want to turn over some of my time to Mr. David O'Delley, our Human Resource Director, who's going to come up and one thing that Dave's working on is you know, staff members of the month, all these wonderful things support our staff members, but Dave was able to contact all of our new hires as we're going through the process and invite some of them. Some can't make it, some can make it, so I'm going to turn it over to Dave to kind of introduce some new staff members who are going to be with us. Dave, go for it.
Thank you. So we've been very busy over the last month since the last board meeting, and we wanted to give you a quick update on some of the new hires that are going to be joining us next year under our certified staff. So as Mr. Molnar mentioned, we have a number of them here today as well, but I figured probably the easiest way to go through it is just by school, and we'll go through. So he's on. So joining us tonight, we have Jordan Ward and almost the whole back row there, sitting seated. So Jordan is going to be a second grade teacher. She's been with us this year on a leave of absence and is coming aboard full time for next year. She's joined here today with her husband Zach and her daughter. Guess what the name is?
Amelia.
Amelia. And Jordan's family. So we have Jordan's parents, Jeff and Beth Hall. Okay. And we have Zach's parents, her husband Zach, his parents Eric and Lori Ward. So thank you for joining.
And also brother-in-law Steven decided to come.
all right. Well, last minute.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, good.
He was happy to see.
Jordan's completing her 4th year teaching, 3 of which were at Summit Academy, and then again this year, second grade at Powers. So she's done a great job, and she has received her graduate or her bachelor's degree at Ashland University. So welcome, Jordan. We also have Carly Morris, also in second grade. She was unable to attend tonight. She lives in Avon Lake with her husband, Austin. Similar to Jordan, like I said, she's been spending the last year in second grade at Powers. Again, just top remarks from Mr. Tepner and team. And she comes to us from Utah, Brigham Young University. So welcome her. We have Rebecca D joining us. So Rebecca is a third grade teacher. She's married to her husband Tom, has 3 children, twin daughters Everly and Charlotte, and a son Tommy. They live in Avon. So she's had 17 years of teaching experience in both first and third grades, 16 of which is in South Euclid, Lyndhurst, and current year in Avon Lake doing third grade. So she received her bachelor's degree in education at Kent State University and received her counseling master's at John Carroll University. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you.
We also have at Powers Jackie Sargent. She's an intervention specialist. Was scheduled to be here but couldn't make it last minute. But her and her husband Dale, they have daughters Emma, Faith, and Ellie, and her son obviously was unable to attend tonight. But she's finishing up her bachelor's degree in early childhood education and from Bowling Green State University later this month. And she's doing her student teaching currently in Vermillion, and they live in Vermont Heights. So at Nord, Raquel Maria, who's currently an ELA teacher at our junior high, as a long-term sub this year for this current school year, will be moving and hired full-time into 5th grade, doing ELA. We also have McKenna Spurley, speech and language pathologist. She has 4 years experience as an SLP, most recently at Constellation Schools, various Constellation Schools in the western side of Cleveland. So we welcome them. We have at the junior high, Stephanie Riggs, kind of hot off the presses. We got her acceptance today. She is doing 6th grade ELA, currently lives in Vermillion. She comes to us from Norwalk City Schools, where she's taught 6th grade ELA, as well as Title I teacher for the past 6 years. At the high school, Kyle Burke. Welcome, Kyle. He's our music and band, and then also our marching band director. Kyle joins us after being for 1 year at the director of bands at St. Edward's High School, Lakewood. He is a recent Baldwin Wallace University graduate, earning his music degree, and Kyle calls Bay Village home. Welcome, Kyle. Last but not least, at Steele, Dana Zabrecki, currently a substitute within the district, will be joining us as a paraprofessional. Dana has been a substitute teacher for a number of years, most notably at Powers and at the preschool. And she lives in Amherst here, and she is a graduate of Steele High School. So that's our activity this month, and you'll see that as our new hires on the agenda. So, welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Welcome, everyone. So glad to make it tonight, but also welcome to the district. We're so excited to have you. Looking forward to next year, and it'll come quick, but we'll enjoy summer first. But thank you for being here tonight. Oh, go ahead, Dave. Want to
Yeah, Chris.
swag to pass out? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got your hands full. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that concludes my report.
Now,
Now it's my turn. Just a couple things to update the board on. You've mentioned a few times our strategic plan. Wanted to give you an update on where we are with that. We just had our district leadership team meeting on April 10th. As a reminder, our district leadership team is comprised of central office staff, administrators, teachers, classified staff, food service, transportation. Don't tell Doug I forgot to put technology up there, but there's technology. Folks on the team as well. So it's a very well-rounded group of individuals on our DLT. What we did at that meeting was shared all building and department feedback regarding our new mission, vision, and core values. And so each building and then each department stood up and kind of gave a presentation based on the conversations that they had had with their respective buildings and departments about the mission, vision, and core values. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of discussion generated as to what our next steps are moving forward. We also did a strategic goals gallery walk where we went over the strategies that the strategic planning committee had come up with, but also came up with our own things we'd like to see, our steps, as well as our stars, things that we're already doing pretty well. And so from there, we're going to be establishing our action committees, which are going to be comprised, we'll have 5 action committees, 1 for each of our goals, and they will start actually doing the work and implementing the goals, creating some timelines for some action steps, and hopefully then providing the board with some updates either this summer or early next year. So that's where we are with strategic planning. Also, I have some upcoming events I wanted to share with you. On Wednesday this week is our summer activity fair, and while it's supposed to rain tomorrow, you'll be happy to know that the forecast is partly cloudy, chilly, but there will be sun on Wednesday evening, so it's not quite what I ordered, but it's close, and I'll take it. And then at our last meeting, I talked about the Best Buddies Walk. That's coming up on Sunday at 10:30 at Crocker Park, so there's still time to sign up if you need to get some steps in on Sunday morning for a good cause. And then May 1st, Steele High School is hosting our Unified Kickball Cornhole Tournament with several other teams. And our Unified Sports are a combination of our Special Olympians as well as some of our Steele athletes working together on a team to best all of the other teams in our area. And then on May 10th, we have the big Lorain County Special Olympics track and field event. That will be at Ely Stadium for the day. And then our junior high is coordinating and hosting a unified track meet then on May 13th. So lots of things going on between now and our next board meeting. And then speaking of our next board meeting, the Crystal Apple Awards nominations are in. We've got some great ones that I'm excited to share with you. We will be presenting those at our May 20th meeting. And then we also plan on honoring our retirees at that meeting. So that'll be a very exciting meeting as well. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Sarah? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. JVS, Rex.
JVS. Just to remind you that the JVS senior recognition is on May 16th at 10 a.m. at Black River. If anybody would like to attend that, you'll need to make sure that you can get a ticket for that. So if you, all of the seniors' parents will all be notified. If anybody else would like to attend that, we would need to know that. I'm sure that Ms. Pluter can help you with that, or Mr. Moore can help you with that, or I can help you with that as well if you would like to attend that at 10 a.m. We are, last time I think I reported that we were in the process of doing some interviewing with businesses and community members from all of the 13 districts. That should be starting within the next week. Some of you will probably get calls, and they will be calls from Burgess and Burgess, some of their staff. They will be doing several one-on-one interviews via phone initially to ask some questions about the JVS to get a perception of what the general public does at the JVS from that perspective. So if you get that call, I would certainly appreciate it that you answer those questions and answer them honestly. We will never know as board members of the JVS who answers those questions. So if you get one of those from a community standpoint, I'd greatly appreciate you answering them honestly from that perspective and what your perception of the JVS is. We're working still diligently on determining whether or not there will be a levy campaign on the November ballot. If I had to second guess that right now, I would say there will not be a levy on the November ballot. we've given that a lot of thought. But I think that we decided that we'd like to do a little bit more research before we decide to put that on the ballot. So we will keep you appraised of that as we move forward. The plant sale began this week. I know one's ending here yesterday or today. That one is still going on, so if you need plants, you can order them online and go pick them up, I believe, from that perspective. We're moving right along with the couple of new programs. Those have been the firefighting program, which we're getting some funding through firefighters to implement what we need to do there. That stuff is moving along much quicker than some of the other stuff the chief what we're doing to see what we have to do. Our plan is to redo some parking lots. I don't know if we'll do all of them, some roof things this summer. So stay tuned for that. Be glad to entertain any questions any of you may have that I was happy to try to answer or get the answer. I don't know.
Any questions? Thank you, Rick. Board updates, any board updates?
Oh, there it is. So, let me try to operate. Okay, so legislative update, I'll try to be brief. Two things. In March, I went to the Northeast Regional Spring Conference. They had 2 dates. I went to the March 25th one. They gave a quick regional update, just encouraging members to become more actively involved in regional committees and work around the Northeast region and calling for people to take on more leadership roles. They introduced 2 of the Lester Emerson Book Grant Award winners, one from Tuscarawas Valley and the other from Kent City School District. As for OSBA update, our new president, Sally Green, was there where she introduced some of the OSBA trustees from our region in attendance. She spoke more about her 2024 goals, and there will be a workshop June 27th at the OSBA offices on the future landscape of Ohio education, and she encouraged all board members and districts to just make sure that kids are seen and they feel seen and appreciated throughout the school year, because there's a lot of kids out there that are hurting right now. Let's see. I'm trying to make it bigger. Let's see. Oh, legislative update. At the time, Governor DeWine did not give his State of the State address, so they were letting everyone know to be on the lookout for that. And then the second week of April, the Joint Commission of Property and Taxes had another session, and they invited educational organizations and panels of superintendents and treasurers to discuss those matters with them. The capital budget is currently being analyzed as they prep for 2025 to begin looking at a new biennial budget. That'll be exciting. Okay. And then the legal update. So one of the sponsors there for our conference that night, they gave more information on the new I don't want to say new, but the 2024 sunshine laws, as well as they discussed all of these age versus cases going on throughout the state. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And then from Dr. Director McFarland for the CEO update. She just gave a brief touch upon some statistics coming out of Ohio public schools, some demographic data. The good folks down in Columbus are very concerned about quarter school graduation rates and chronic absenteeism, as well as cell phone use in schools. So more on that, I guess, as months go on. And then at the end of the program, they gave out awards like service awards and star awards. And
Dr. Messer, which one are you getting?
Yes.
Sure.
I got a training award because I'd like to learn. So,
Congratulations.
so yeah, thank you very much. So that was the regional spring conference in March next week. So I think it was 2 weeks ago. So this was very fun. So I am on the board member cabinet with OSBA. And this time we got to speak with the state superintendent, Paul Kraft, as well as the new director of the Department of Education and Workforce, Mr. Dack. And we first spoke with Mr. Kraft, and he spoke briefly on kind of the pared down responsibilities of the State Board of Education since the split of power, as we say. So they're primarily responsible for teacher licensure, property transfers, and in regards to school buildings, things like that. And they still do state teacher of the year. Right now, they're looking into making their processes more lean, and will go through, I guess, a program called Lean on High for the summer. They just underwent, I guess, I don't know if I have the acronym right. Is that right? RAPAC? Oh, RAPAC, excuse me. So they just went through that expansion for non-licensed staff. We spoke on this before of the redundancy and background checks and things like that. And it was an unfunded mandate from our state legislature. And so that they had to use funding from teacher licensure funds. And this answers your question, Ms. Amy. I didn't have to ask, but so right now they are waiting on increase in their budget from the state legislature. If they do get their reimbursement, or, but not, then the increases will be minimal. So from $200 to $225 for teacher licensure renewals. If not, then it will go from $200 to $350. So he is pretty confident that they will get reimbursed. So we will hope that happens. So one of the big topics right now is cell phone use during school hours. Yes, I guess we have policies in place, or at least rules for that already. So I guess I'm scratching my head on that, but that's a big topic. Students using phones during school or during class. And then looking at AI and super AI technology, so they're trying to partner with educational service centers and other educational partners. Let's see. And then one thing that was interesting, Mr. Pratt was talking about when he first started speaking, was he felt that, I guess, the general public lost their trust in the State Board of Education. And so he's trying to build that trust back, and he felt that educational professional organizations like Glasgow and OSBA and BASA, they lost their faith in the State Board of Education. So he's trying to gain that trust back, those organizations as well. So he concluded with that, as well as he's working with trying to be collaborative with the new Department of Education and Workforce. So And some of the questions posed to him was, okay, well, since the State Board of Education is kind of stripped down, will there be any change in the makeup? So instead of like, what is it, like 9 appointed, 11 elected, something like that, will the appointees number drop? And he had no clear answer for that. There hasn't really been talk about that. Bigger questions were, of course, funding and regulation. So if some of these private, I guess, schools or homeschool situations are getting state funds, will there be any more regulation on them that they are now? And again, there's no answer to that as of yet. And teacher base pay, people had a question about that. Will there be any more discussion or any new legislation coming up about that? Since the legislation didn't pass, I think the last one was for 43, increasing it to 43,000. There hasn't been any new discussion there. And I had asked a question about, there have been discussion, I guess a big thing about chronic absenteeism. And when I went to the Board 201 training, people had questions about absenteeism due to medical conditions or kids just getting sick a lot post-COVID. And so I posed that question. And I guess there's really no answer to that yet. They're still focused on, I guess, disciplinary action towards parents for kids being absent. So, but that wasn't the question they asked. They asked about medical reasons, so I don't know why I got that answer. So that was your hot button thing. Next slide, please. And next we spoke with Director Dakin. And he, again, started out with, he wants to work collaboratively with Mr. Kraft and the State Board of Education. And he shared some of their priorities, which are staffing, workforce, accelerated learning for all students, and access to mental health supports as well. He highlighted, so since then the governor gave his state of the state, and he highlighted, of course, the educational points and priorities made there. So the school-based health clinics was one. Career awareness. So the governor is asking for legislators to add some sort of law or whatever to add career planning to high school graduation requirements. So more of an individual one-on-one career plan, as well as a principal apprenticeship program. And then here's one you'll like, Ms. Amy. So they're finding out now that open enrollment districts will see a decrease in the money you get per student when the Fair School funding formula or plan gets fully implemented. And so we asked about that, and it was like, oh, there was some oversight or something. I don't know, they couldn't explain that. And then the other thing we talked about, so with the science and reading, now they're turning their focus to math and accelerated math. That's the new hot thing in curriculum now. And so the concern is, let's look at, see how science and reading plays out before rushing, this math. And so Director Dakin is in alignment with educators and board members expressing that concern as well. So questions for him, the big ones were, transparency. Will there be opportunities for public comment and feedback? And he said, we do have those opportunities to the point where we're, over communicating, which garnered some laughter. And then from the group, and then funding was a big question, so I'm not the only one that asked about public preschool. So public preschool, people asked about all-day kindergarten expansion throughout the state, and then payment subsidies for science and reading adoption. I guess that's coming out soon, so I'm sure you've heard about that. And it's based on a formula, so again, I don't know what this formula is, but we'll find that out. And then the big, obviously, is vouchers. The big question of the day is vouchers. And I'm trying to look up my notes of what I said about vouchers. This quote, what he said. Okay, so when he was asked about vouchers, he said, I have to follow the law. Vouchers are the law. I have to follow the law. And that was the answer to vouchers. The end for that part. Next slide, please. So he was not, that was his answer. So for this quarter training, we have tomorrow is the state legislative conference, and then there's some free webinars coming up from OSBA and the June conference, June 27th conference I was telling you all about. And that's all I have for today. It's longer than I thought, sorry. Oh, thank you for putting that up there.
Any questions for Amanda?
I mean, I just want to thank you for the dedication that you put in to keep us appraised of all these things. Congratulations on your certificate of achievement for your learning.
Thanks.
I'd also like to thank Amy for her continuing ed stuff to make sure that the sunshine laws were current on and followed those correctly, because I know that you completed that as well. So I thank you on behalf of the board for all of that you've done.
Thank you, Amanda. Personnel recommendations.
Yeah, we have quite a few this evening, including many of our new hires. Want to mention, we're going to break this up and do this in a little bit of chunks. There's so many. So we're going to first look at just personnel recommendations A through K. I want to highlight real quick, there's a few more resignations, as Ms. Walker said. We will honor our retirees next month at next month's board meeting, which will be at Powers Elementary School. So it won't be here, it will be at Powers Elementary School. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. So board's had a chance to review these, so we're looking at items just 12A through 12K for approval.
Any discussion?
I did not hear who that was.
I think it was Morgan.
Yeah, myself.
Morgan.
In what order? In that order?
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Gillis? Aye. Mrs. Buckles? Aye. Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Dr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Right. Next, item L, takes the board's, that separately, recommend personnel item L.
Any second? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Gillis? Aye. Mrs. Buckles? Aye. Mr. Engel?
Abstain.
Dr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Or in the last part, there are items M through S. There is one correction on item O. We had a former staff member on there that needs to be removed. So please remove Erica Kaufman, and please replace that name with Natalie Hostetler. That's the correct name for that position. So that's item O. Remove Erica Kaufman and replace Natalie Hostetler. So I can make that one change, and then we could
Make a motion to get you.
Thank you.
Discussion, comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel. Mr. Engel. Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye. Educational recommendations?
Yeah, there's just 4 to approve tonight. I just want to highlight item B, though. That is our agreement with the Education Service Center for St. Joe's. That ties into the federal grants we talked about earlier in the board meeting. Every federal grant we receive some non-public money, and that's for St. Joe's in our district. And so we are the financial, I guess, delivery of those funds through us to them. So this is this agreement for their services has to do all federal funds that come not from our funds at all, but federal funds. So that's item B. So I'd like to recommend educational items A through D.
Teresa? Second. Amanda? Any discussion, comments?
I would just like to say something about A. In reviewing that exhibit, it did not show or state if the concert choir would be doing any performance in New York, or if they would just be attending the workshop. So I would just like, and I don't care, I care, but I don't care one way or the other, but if they are going to perform, I think it's important that we know where they're going to perform, because I know in the past, they have always done a performance, 1 or 2 performances on these trips. So I would just like to know if that is continuing or not continuing.
We'll find out for you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye. Business recommendations?
Yeah, 3 items. Just want to highlight the first one, which is the senior banquet coming up with Chairman's Villa. And then also item C, which is the approval of the bid for the steel special education classroom and restroom project, which will commence very quickly. That's for Martini Construction Company. I'd like to ask the board for those approvals.
Your motion?
Teresa, second? Second? Margaret? Any discussion or comments? Call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackel. Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
And Mr. Zappa.
Aye. We don't need executive session,
No,
correct?
we got one more thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do. David, do.
Is it all right if I just jump in?
Yeah,
Introduce one of our other new hires? So, her and her family were able to show up. So. Where'd you go? Okay.
Over here.
We're just
Come on,
hanging out.
yeah, come on around. So this is Jacqueline Sargent. She's our intervention specialist at Powers, joining us. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So she is joined here today with her husband Dale, daughters Emma, Faith, and Ellie, and their son is at a track meet, so he was unable to attend tonight, but he's also part of that. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Jack is finishing up her teaching in inclusive early childhood education from Bowling Green State University this month.
Yeah, graduate Saturday.
Congratulations. She's doing her student teaching in Vermillion, and they call Berlin Heights home. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Sure. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Margaret? Vote.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel. Mr. Engel. Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank everyone for coming.